Welcome, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, Central Time, West Coasters, Hawaii people.
Yeah,
Uh,
Hawaii people, it's like lunchtime.
there you go. Yeah.
Those lucky devils.
Lucky Devils, right? Well, on that note, tell us where you're at. Tell us where you're from. One. Now, I usually ask graduating class of the student, but tell us where you are in the world. Tell us how you're feeling. You can do it with emojis if you want to. Peggy loves her emojis. Are you
I do. I
feel
do
like
love
you're
it.
all over this? You're excited? Are you overwhelmed? Are you freaked? You know what out? Or just scared out of your wits? Just throw in the chat. Tell us how everybody is doing, and then where in the world they are. Yeah, upside down. That's a good one.
Jersey, I like
Good one.
that
Yeah.
one too.
That's right. That's right. Peggy, you got a Jersey girl there.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
Nice.
um,
Yep.
yeah,
Ambivalent. That's
ambivalence
a
not
good
bad.
one.
Yeah, I wonder if that's all. Let me speak for them. It's like I'm excited for this next step, but I'm also kind of like sad my kids are leaving type of deal. Obviously, I'm putting words in people's mouths here, but
It's a
I
definite, yeah, it's a
love you.
bittersweet.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. I
Definitely.
think the reason why I asked that question is I think it's helpful for people to know that if you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, what the hell do I do next? Like that is very normal. Like that is what you should be feeling. It's like it's your kids and your money. Like those are two of the most like provocative things that we can deal with, right? As human beings. And and I say like even if everything is going swimmingly and you're all over this and everything's been submitted and you know your kid's going to get into their top choice if there was such a thing, it's still a little bit like, but now my baby's leaving, right? So I just think it's helpful, I hope, to share like if you're feeling some of this stuff, I promise it's kind of you're right where you should be, right? And our job tonight and always, anytime we get in front of, our stakeholders, which is you all, parents sending their kids to college, is to just bring the temperature down a little bit, right? Get those shoulders down, just kind of unearth some of these unknowns, right? The fear of the unknown is so much of this. So our job is to get you coached up. And then we're gonna end tonight with like letting you know exactly what we do for like families that do work with us, one on one or one to many or whatever capacity. We're gonna share that, right? We're gonna walk you through that because specifically class 2026 families, it's kind of now or never type of deal. If you're applying early, you have a little bit more time if you're applying regular decision only. But if you are applying early anywhere, this is kind of our cutoff day. So we'll talk about that when we end. So if you're new to us, welcome. We love coaching people, helping people through this kind of huge, important, exciting thing that is sending your kids to college. My name is Matt Carpenter. I'm a founder here at College A Pro. I've been doing this for 20 years. So I share that just to say any school that you've heard of, I've worked with them many times over. Every family is unique, but we have seen the entire spectrum of family dynamics and different types of students. So we want you to ask your questions, right? Please ask your questions. We're gonna be talking at you, but we want this to be interactive. We're going to tell you to put your questions in the Q&A, whichever one of us is not talking, we're going to be living in there. Again, do as many questions as possible. We won't get to them all. We're outgunned here, so we're not ignoring you if we don't get to your question. Um, so enough about me here. Enough of me talking. Peggy, you are in very good hands. I promise everybody. This is the fairy godmother of financial aid. Many of you know that. If you do not know that, here she is, live and in the flesh here. Originally a Jersey girl, most recently and currently out in Tucson, Arizona, out in the desert. So take it away, Peggy.
Okay, first of all, I just need you to fix your shirt. What is going on over here
Oh,
with
sorry. That's I got like a one of these. I'm
tracking everybody? Put that in the
trying to be a
back.
cool guy hoodie. There you go. Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I was gonna say.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, so if you are new, welcome, welcome. Somebody just wrote thank you. Thank you, Angie. Great minds think alike. Okay. Yeah, so I have been doing this exclusively, not as long as the old man here, but well over a decade. And I've been through this. I have twins, And I've been through it. And so when I say it's bittersweet, I remember it. I had evenings where I was laying in bed, literally sobbing, and I'm not a crier, listening to my kids downstairs. And then other days where I was just like, when are you leaving? It can't come fast enough. So it's a funky kind of time. But what I love is when we show up, we kind of help with all of that because we guide you and we understand the journey you're on. So then you don't have to be so in the weeds on the journey because we can guide you on it, or we can, literally. So let's get started. Matt said it kind of nonchalantly, so I just want to make sure people heard, because it's great. You've already started with questions. That's wonderful, but paste those over to the Q&A, because then we'll have one place where we're watching. And also, because we always get this question, this is being recorded and we will send you the recording. So you don't have to worry about that. We're going to cover a lot. If you want to watch it again or share it with family or friends, or, that's totally great. So let me share my screen here. Matt mentioned that he is one of the co-founders. So if you are brand new to us, this truly is our mission. We are very mission driven, and this empowering families to shop smarter for college. That's what we're doing tonight. And you truly are shopping for college. I will challenge you to think about it that way. I was just talking to one of my colleagues today about our podcast and different things that we might talk about. And one of the things is like not getting so emotionally invested in a college. Because then you're no longer shopping. You're just kind of at their mercy if you get hook, line, and sinker for a school, and it might not be affordable. So, anyways, I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but this is who we are. So, if you are new, welcome. We are delighted to have you. I did not go to Notre Dame, but pretty much everybody else in my family, many generations did. So I grew up tailgating and grew up with Notre Dame. So when Matt made this slide, of course, I love it. But I'll let Matt talk through this slide. But I have this in my office, thanks to my buddy here who gave it to me as a gift. So.
Housewarming gift, Peggy. That's my tradition. I give this to everybody that gets new home, whether they're Irish fans or not. They like a
Oh,
chance.
so I wasn't special. Okay, thank
You're
you.
very special, pal. I'm talking about that's a pretty short list. Those are my
I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
those are people. Let me put it this way. Those are only reserved for people that I can be my kitchen table self with. Okay.
Got it. Got it.
You're on that list. So we don't need to overwork this thing. Just a quick table of contents, right? We're going to kind of talk high level how this works and specifically kind of what we think to be the key variables that you can kind of control on these financial aid forms, on the FAFSA, on the CSS profile. But you need to know not just how it works, but how is it going to work for your family, right? Because there's a gigantic spectrum. Okay. And then lastly, this saying is something I've been huge on. It's been impactful for me. I share it with anybody I care about. Action absorbs anxiety, right? Like usually if we're feeling like our to-do list is too long, I'm feeling down about you name it, right? Anxious about you name it. You take some action, it absorbs that anxiety, even a little bit, even incrementally. So we're going to leave you with some action items. You're feeling a little bit anxious about this at all tonight? No problem. We're going to leave you with some action items and kind of you pick your path. Um, but go ahead, Peggy.
All right, so there we are. Everybody got an email today, and I know most of you have done this. If you haven't, and we're going to be showing you this later, kind of to solidify some of the stuff we're sharing on the slide. So you'll be in there and you'll see it. But Matt's going to put a link in the chat. Just go to mycap.collegeapro.com. Super easy to get started for free. You can put in 3 colleges. You get these 2 SAIs that you see on here, and I'm about to talk about those right now. They are like the tip of the iceberg of this thing, right? You have to have good estimates of your SAIs to not what I call drift. And what drift causes confusion. It's expensive, but the worst part of it is it causes stress within the family, and it's not a win, not a win at all. So let's talk about financial aid, high level, meta level financial aid. If you're new to this, you have, class of 2027, 2028 child. It's great that you're here. You are not too early. We all know that college is expensive. You might not all know that the most expensive schools now are over $100,000 full sticker price, which is what we call cost of attendance, tuition and fee, room and board, books, travel, personal expenses. It's been going up for like more than 3 decades, and with a high rate of inflation. We have no control over that, but it kind of doesn't matter because all the colleges are discounting their price. It's kind of like a store like Kohl's where things are always on sale. Just might be 10% or 50, but they're always on sale. And so the colleges do the same thing, but they don't do the same thing for every family. And honestly, that's why we even exist. But they do it in 3 different ways. They can use need-based grants, and as the name hints, you have to have financial need. And I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. But this is free money. It could be from the federal government or your state, but the lion's share of it is gonna come from the colleges. We call that institutional grants. Comes from their endowment money. And this is a win because it's their money, saving money in your pocket, and you don't need to repay it. Same thing with the middle bucket, another form of free money, but it's not based on your finances. It's based on your child. It's grades, test scores typically, but it can be sports, talent, leadership. It's whatever that college decides to do. And we're going to get in the weeds a little bit more about exactly what merit aid is. But if you can maximize those 2 buckets and find schools that are a good academic and personal fit, as well as offering your family a lot of need-based grants or your child great merit aid, that's a huge win. You are truly discounting the cost of college. The third bucket lowers the cost, but either your child's working and you're using that money to pay some of the bills, or you're taking out loans. And loans are okay, a reasonable amount of debt, but obviously it has to be repaid. So it's not free money. So these are the different ways that when your kids get in, if we have some senior parents here, which I'm sure we do, you're going to get an award letter that shows we cost 90 and here's all of our discounts. So this is what it's going to cost you. This is the way the game is played. So need-based aid, very simple formula that the colleges use. Cost of attendance that I just talked about minus something called a student aid index. It could also be called a family contribution or an expected family contribution. Those are the EFC is an older term, but some of the colleges are still using it. That is what gets calculated when you submit financial aid forms. And we're going to talk about why you should submit your forms because some people don't want to submit forms. And we're going to really try and convince you tonight that you could definitely be leaving money on the table. So that cost of attendance minus your SAI is your need. So if a school costs 90, you have an SAI of 50, you have need of $40,000. It doesn't mean you're good. It's like, oh, well, I have 50 saved, so I'm good. No, most schools are not going to meet 100% of need. And even if they do, they're probably going to package some loans in there and potentially your child working. And so if that's not something, especially I know with my two, first semester freshman year, I didn't want them working. Like they needed to get used to college and the rigor of the academics. I didn't want them having a job. And a lot of parents feel that way. So it's not okay, I'm good. The student aid index is not the maximum you're going to be expected to pay. So let's get in the weeds a little bit about the SAI. It has assets in it when it gets calculated, and they look at income. So the family's assets, kids and parents. The parent assets, and you see this on the right, if they're following the methodology, are assessed up to about, it's a very specific number, 5.64%. You see on the other side where the student is pictured, they can assess kids' assets at 20, 25, or even more. Matt and I have both seen them do even more. In the methodologies, it's 20 or 25, but obviously a big significant difference. That's why you hear a lot, don't put money in your kid's name because it's assessed at a much higher rate and then your SAI goes up. The key takeaway with assets in general for kids and parents is they are looking at your non-retirement assets and it's your current value. Like literally, if you want to be this exact when you hit submit on the financial aid forms, that's the value. But 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, traditional IRAs, this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they see assets and they're like, well, I have my big 401k that I've been working so hard for years to save in. Makes sense that you would put that down. Shoots up your SAI and it shouldn't be there. So keep that in mind, especially if you're a senior parent and you're filling these out currently. Another big piece of assets that's a very common question and a great one, 529s. If you've been fortunate enough to be able to scroll some money away for your child or your kids into college savings accounts, the most popular one is a 529. That's great. If you are a parent and you're the owner, which is typically I've never seen a child as the owner and the beneficiary, the student. Usually it's the parent and then the student's the beneficiary. That's an asset of the parent. And just based on what I said 2 minutes ago, you know why that's important, not to make that mistake and say, well, I've earmarked that for my child. So of course it's their asset. It is not, it's not a gift to your child. You can always take that money back and pay the tax on the earnings and a penalty. It's still your money. You're not gifting it to them. So don't, that's another, I'm kind of giving you tips and tricks on these forms as we go here. So 529 is a parent asset if the parent is the owner. If the grandparents are the owner, which again, super common, they aren't even included on the form. That's not part of your assets for the kids or the parents because it's an outside person outside of the household. So don't include a parent 529 anywhere on any financial aid form where they're asking for your assets. Okay. So that's how that piece works. One other thing on this slide, on the FAFSA, you are going to share the balance only for the child that is going to college. Like I had two kids. I was fortunate enough, I had two 529s. I'm only putting Shannon's balance on her FAFSA and only putting Brennan's balance on his. You don't combine them on the FAFSA. So keep that in mind. The other financial aid form, they ask for the total on the CSS profile. Here's a little sneak peek at the CSS profile. If you haven't been in there, you see right here in this example, this is Peg is my sample is the student. And they're asking, hey, do the parents of this student have assets and investments? That's where you're going to mark, you've got a business, you've got real estate, you're checking and savings, but this is the investment piece that I was talking about. That's the 529 piece and the no retirement asset piece. All right, Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you for home equity.
Yeah, and I've already got a few questions about this, so perk up if you were one of those that had a question regarding how to value our home, our property. Um, but for some of you, this is going to come as an unpleasant surprise. More colleges than we would like consider our home equity to be fair game to varying degrees. Okay. And usually the telltale sign if a college is going to look at our home equity, again, where we live specifically, our primary residence, as fair game, they're a college that requires the CSS profile. Okay, there's some exceptions in here, and there are different ways that colleges do it, and we're going to tell you. As a matter of fact, we already gave you the cheat code that tells you exactly which colleges look at home equity, how much, who doesn't, who does, how to search for schools just based on that. That's on the platform, right? That's in the chat, mycap.collegeapro.com. But there's dozens of them, dozens and dozens of really popular schools. And in some ways, it's unfair to have these four logos on here, right? I always pick on Boston College. I can do that because they're in my backyard and they're a phenomenal institution that's very popular that doesn't need my help. NYU, again, one of the most popular schools in the world by measure of applications. Miami, Syracuse, just a couple of other examples of colleges that if your home's worth 600 and you owe 200,000 on it, they say that's a $400,000 checking account. Okay, so that is a problem in terms of qualifying for need-based financial aid if we are targeting some of these colleges, right? And obviously we own our home and we have some equity in it. So there are a myriad of different strategies that we can implement here. And again, when we're giving advice and guidance and recommendations to a room full of people, it's impossible to give a catch-all blanket recommendation that works for everybody. But here's a strategy to consider that works for most people. We want to find the lowest defensible value of our home. And then we want to reduce that value by 20%. Why? How can we justify that? If my home's worth $1 million and I own it outright, and I sell it tomorrow for $1 million, I don't get to put $1 million in my pocket because I'm going to pay taxes and I'm going to pay fees. And on average, in that scenario, I'll put about 800,000 bucks in my pocket. It's called the IRS quick sale value rule. So this is something that we can use and stand tall on when defending the value of our home. But keep in mind, this is part art and part science. You can put whatever you want here. Okay. You're not going to quote unquote get in trouble. You can say your home's, I live in Beverly, Mass, right? Just north of Boston here. I can say my home's worth 200,000 and I can apply to Boston College. The Boston College financial aid counselor is going to say, huh, Beverly, Massachusetts, just north of Boston here, a $200,000 value, that seems wonky. I'm going to go check Zillow and Redfin. And guess what? I'm going to use the highest possible value that I can find. So that's where it's part art, part science here. And we want to find that sweet spot. What's the lowest defensible value that also doesn't raise a red flag with these financial aid offices? Okay. And again, I'm going to give you some examples in the platform. And this is how and where it shows up on the CSS profile. Like, we're not, let's be clear, we are not putting anything to do with our home equity on the FAFSA. I am just talking about CSS profile schools. So do not put your home equity on the FAFSA, but we don't have a choice when it comes to the CSS profile. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so another kind of a very meaningful variable, if you will, if this applies to you, business owners, right? And again, perk up if you're self-employed. I don't care how your company's structured, if you're a sole proprietor, if it's a LLP, S corp, C corp, partnership, it does not matter. Okay. Um, FAFSA, CSS profile, stark contrast, right? Huge difference in terms of how it's treated. Let me burn this one in your brains. If you are completing the FAFSA and it asks you the value of your business, the net worth, what assets you have in your business, you're putting excuse me, you're putting a zero because that's what you do if you have less than 100 employees. But those instructions are buried so far down in the fine print that vast majority of applicants miss that and accidentally put a value negatively impacts your SAI, your financial aid eligibility. You don't have this choice on the CSS profile. You're going to have to put a value and answer some additional questions, right? What's the gross receipts, gross expenses? Tell us about your business, the nature of it, etc. And I think we have that screenshot of it, Peggy, if we want to share it on
Yeah,
the next
yeah.
slide here. But this is what it looks like, right? So how many businesses do you have? Tell us about each of them, right? And the big one here is the market value of the business, right? And nobody knows that, right? Nobody and very few people have a third party actually come up with a valuation of the business. You don't have a publicly traded company, right? So you are on your own, left to your own devices to answer that unbelievably important question for the CSS profile schools because it is going to be a huge driver in your financial aid eligibility or lack thereof. This is what I'm going to tell you. Now, obviously, when we sit with our families, we're going through their tax returns, we're looking at their business tax returns, and we're helping them come up with the most advantageous value of their business. It's not going to hurt us, but it's also, again, not going to jump off the page and say, whoa, wait a minute, and not align with our tax returns and all that. But don't be afraid to err on the low side, right? Too many business owners overvalue themselves because they're proud of their business and they should be, right? You should be. But even if you sold your business tomorrow and you got the market price that you wanted, don't forget there's liabilities there. Don't forget there's going to be taxes and fees that come out of that. So don't step on this landmine that's very easy to step on by overvaluing your business here. Now, in terms of your gross receipts, expenses, etc., there's no opportunity to get cute there. Put exactly what it says on your tax returns because guess what? These colleges are getting all your tax returns and all your business tax returns anyways. Okay. Okay, divorce, separated families, split household families. By the way, if you do not listen to our podcast, Peggy and I have a podcast. It's called Old College Try, right? Giving it the old college try. Please listen to it wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or however you consume your podcast. Check us out. We did today's episode that we shot. No, wait, was this last week? I'm getting the
No, we did it this morning, but it'll
right.
come on Thursday.
Well, busy time of year there, Peggy. So yeah, so this morning, yeah, we shoot them on Tuesdays. They get edited and produced, and then released on Thursdays. So this week we spent the whole episode talking about divorced and separated families because it's in this already confusing, overwhelming process. This variable makes it that much more challenging for families that fall somewhere in this bucket. For starters, divorced, separated, what's the difference between those? In this financial aid world, nothing. Okay, colleges they don't care if you were formally divorced 10 years ago or informally separated 6 months ago. So long as you live at two separate addresses, physical addresses, that's kind of again that you kind of check that box, right, in terms of fitting into one of these buckets. So back to our kind of theme here, common theme. FAFSA, CSS profile schools, wildly different. Only one household, right? So if we're separated, only one household is going to complete the FAFSA. It's as if the other household does not exist. Schools that only require the FAFSA, and again, in our tool, you can search just based on this. Schools that only require the FAFSA are only looking at one household. Which household? Let me start with who it's not. They don't care who the student lives with. They don't care who claims the student as an exemption on tax returns. They don't care who receives child support. The only thing that matters and the only thing that should dictate who completes the FAFSA is the one that provides the most financial support to the student. Okay, so it doesn't mean you get child support. That doesn't mean that necessarily goes directly to the student. Guys, this is where you have an opportunity to be strategic. See to it that the household that has the lower income, the lower assets, the one that's going to give you the lower SAI, the most financial aid, provides the most financial support to the student, right, in that year. So, really, really good opportunity to get strategic here. I will mention if you are remarried, that other parent at FAFSA only schools treat it as if they're the biological parent. It doesn't matter if you got married 6 months ago. It doesn't matter if your new partner has three kids in college and is contributing zero to your biological kid, and they're just this new step parent. The formula doesn't care, right? Honey Badger don't care. Okay. CSS profile schools, most of them are going to require the information from both households, right? And they're going to consider the information from both households. Okay. Here's a kind of PhD level trick. They are not supposed to count step parent income, but they usually do. Okay. So this is just more of an FYI. And then, of course, again, every college is their own business. There are some CSS profile schools, Vanderbilt, U Chicago, Santa Clara, they don't require they only require the information from the one household. They just have their own kind of ways of doing business. Again, you're not supposed to know how every college does business. That's why it's all baked into our algorithm on the back end. Any college you want to see how they operate, go put it in there. Go put your family's information in there. Okay, Peggy, go ahead unless you have anything to add on divorce. I'm sure you've been answering questions in there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm good. You're good.
Okay, so a percentage of you're not going to be eligible for need-based financial aid. You've already created your account, mycap.collegeaidpro.com. You're looking at your SAIs right now. You're listening to us. Said, here's my federal SAIs, FAFSA only school. Here's my institutional SAI, CSS profile schools. And they're both over $150,000. And what that means is you're not getting need-based financial aid, right, at any colleges. Okay, at least not freshman year. But you don't want to pay $100,000 for college. So where do you get your discounts? And there's a couple ways to do this. But the best way to do this is to figure out who's going to give your kid a scholarship, right? Because a lot of these schools, you see a couple examples, MIT, Harvard, scholarships don't exist there, right? Nobody's at Williams or Amherst or Tufts, on a scholarship. They do not exist on those colleges. So if we're not eligible for need-based financial aid, we're paying $100,000 a year to go to those schools. Okay. So we need to find schools that are going to give us discounts regardless of our income, even if, guys, even if those are just as a strategy to get a better deal from our top schools, to go back to our top school and say, hey, Case Western, we got this $30,000 scholarship from Case Western, this unbelievable engineering school, and then we're going to bring that back to Rolls-Holman. We're going to bring that back, to RPI and get a better deal to Georgia Tech and get a better deal from those schools because their competing institutions. More to come there, but that's the first thing we want to do when our SAIs are high. Okay, go ahead, Peggy. Okay, from an income standpoint, we don't spend a lot of time talking about income because it is what it is, right? Whatever it says on our tax returns, right? Line 11, the adjusted gross income, uh, that is kind of the deal. That's the magic number. But we're looking at 2 years prior, right? So it's important if we're a class 2026, they're looking at 24 tax returns. If we're our class 2027, they're going to be looking at our 2025 tax returns, and we have to reapply for financial aid every single year. Okay, and so the package can adjust accordingly as our income, goes up or goes down, right? So the aid package could adjust for better or for worse. If we had this really great year in 2024, but that was an anomaly, or we had a one-time, 401k distribution or one-time bonus or a one-time, you name it, that's a huge variable that we want to appeal, right? And show these colleges why we should get more money, which I'll talk about uh, in just a little bit here. Okay. Well, speaking of appeals, here we go.
Right now.
Well, yeah, right. The mentality is, guys, the mentality is we never want to accept that first offer. I don't care what the school is, big school, small school, public, private, early decision, regular decision, early action. I don't give a shit. Okay. We do not want to accept that first offer, but there's a method to the madness. Number one, what are we doing? We're negotiating for a better deal. Let's be clear. Let's call what it is. We're negotiating for a better deal. But there's some intricacies. There's some intricacies here. There's some nuance. What do I mean by that? If you use the word negotiate, I promise there's the end of the negotiation. You use that word with the financial aid office or admissions counselor, you're not getting a dollar more. We are appealing, guys. We are appealing for additional financial aid consideration. But this is where it gets nuanced. We have to know, again, how does the particular college we're talking to do business? Am I appealing for more merit-based scholarships? Am I appealing for more need-based aid? Is it both? Should the student be leading the charge? Should the parent be leading the charge? Is it together? Right? The answer to that question is yes. It all depends on the college. Okay. And then even if we are doing a need-based appeal, for example, you have to know, is this a college that used the institutional methodology, but we're in one of these cases where the federal methodology is lower, right? And sorry, the federal methodology is higher, and they awarded us based on the federal methodology when they should have used the institutional methodology. This is why we have to know that, because if we don't have a sophisticated appeal, we're not going to get anything. So we have to know exactly how, why we're appealing, how much more to ask for, and that's all very school specific and very, family specific. Okay, Peggy. Yeah, and guys, I see a bunch of questions in the chat. You got to put them all in the Q&A because we can only look in the Q&A. So if you put a question in the chat, copy and paste it, put it in the Q&A, we'll do our best to answer it. I talked about appealing. I talked about applying to competing schools. Why? Okay, why? Guys, these are businesses. These are very competitive, very profitable, nonprofit businesses, colleges, and they compete with one another for their products. Who are their products? Your students, right? Your kids. We always have to apply to competing schools. Something that we always say, in order to have a successful appeal, that starts early in the process. And a part of that is applying to competing institutions, right? You see top left. A lot of people think, oh, you can't, big public schools, state institutions don't get involved in this. Yes, they do. I promise Arizona State and the University of Arizona, of course, they're competitors on the athletic field. Guess what? They are academically too. We always leverage these schools against one another. Top right, Boston University, Northeastern, very popular schools in Boston. It is very common that a family will like one of them, not like the other. Guess what? I make them apply to both. I know you didn't like BU, but guess what? We're going to use that offer and we're going to get more money from Northeastern and vice versa. And of course, you see the Ivies here with Yale and Columbia. But these are obviously just a few examples, but the takeaway is every one of these schools has their main competitors, and we want to make sure that we are leveraging them against one another. This goes for everybody, but especially if you're a family with a high SAI, right? Especially if you're a family with a high SAI that can't make a very strong argument of why you could get need-based financial aid, but you can say, guess what? I got $20,000 more from your direct competitor. If we can't get at least close, you're going to lose us to your competition. May or may not be an empty threat, but that is a very important strategy. Okay, I guess I'll hit this, then kick it to you, Peggy. um, the takeaway here, everybody has to be, that's not the word. Everybody should be completing and submitting their financial aid applications. Why? So many people that we talk to are eligible for financial aid when they didn't think they were. If you listen to the podcast from 2 weeks ago, I didn't think I was going to be pumping the podcast tonight. Here we go. Me and Kevin Murphy, a colleague of I go through some actual case studies. One of them is a family that had two commas on their tax returns. That means over $1 million. Their adjusted gross income over $1 million. Need-based financial aid at Tufts. We talk about a couple case studies where families $600,000, $700,000 income getting need-based financial aid. Right? There's more variables than just income. There's more variables than just assets here. Okay. Obviously, those are unique, extreme examples, but I do not want people to disqualify themselves because we see it too much. Some colleges, I like to use NYU as kind of my main example here. You want to be considered for scholarships, merit-based financial aid outside it, that has nothing to do with your family's income. They still make you complete the FAFSA and the CSS profile. Just to raise your hand and say, we would like to have some discounts if we're eligible for any. Please give us some if you're eligible for any. Most schools, if you don't apply for aid freshman year, you are telling them we will pay full sticker price for all 4 years. You don't get to change your mind next year or in 2 years, or somebody loses a job, or younger kids in college too. Hey, we'd like to apply for financial aid now. Sorry, brother. You missed the boat by not applying freshman year. If we want to appeal for more money, merit, or need, first thing they're going to say is, nice, did you submit your FAFSA and or CSS profile? Right? And that's it. Otherwise, you told us you didn't want any discounts. Okay. Lastly, and this is from somebody that I especially want you to listen to this if you're like, hey, look, I'm fortunate enough to have enough resources. Um, I'm not so worried about the cost here. Even if you're a billionaire, and shame on you if you're a billionaire listening to this presentation, but even if you are, and you complete the FAFSA, your kid is still entitled to $27,000 in federal direct student loans over the course of 4 years. Two things. If you want your kid to borrow, that is the best place to do it. We think it's a great thing to have some skin in the game, right? And to be financially invested, and that's a great amount and a great loan program. They don't need an established credit. They don't need a cosigner. They won't get a bill until 6 months after college. Awesome. Even if you don't want them to do that, take out the loan in their name, pay it off instantaneously. They graduate basically with perfect credit, like a 780 credit score as a 22-year-old. So I'm belaboring it here, but I just want everybody to hear it, right? And do the right thing and submit the financial aid forms no matter what.
All right. All right, let me just touch on the forms, and then Matt's gonna actually go in and go through some stuff in our software so you can kind of really see it with the family. So we've talked about the FAFSA over and over today. If you are a senior parent, FAFSA's live. It's all about the 2024 school year. Matt talked about that. The prior year, only the custodial parent submits the FAFSA if you're divorced or separated. The parent who's provided the most financial support on a year look back. If you're not submitting these forms for 3 or 4 weeks and you're really close, you should probably talk to us. We can help you figure out who's the most advantageous custodial parent while still being honest. If you haven't gotten into the FAFSA, you do need to get what's called a federal student aid. Your child does, the student, and then the contributors. And that's what the government, when they revamped the FAFSA a couple of years ago, the word they came up with. And it's a little confusing because it has nothing to do with contributing money. It's literally contributing your financial information to the student's FAFSA. So contributors can be different depending on the family makeup. If you are married and you file married filing jointly, then one biological parent needs to get that FSA ID. If you are divorced or separated, you probably guessed it, only the custodial parent's going to get it. That other parent is not involved. The other biological parent is not involved with the FAFSA. So they don't need to get an FSA ID. One of the other things that's a little quirky, if you are married and for some reason you file your taxes married filing separately, then you both need to get an FSA ID. And the reason behind this is when you get into the FAFSA, you're not going to have a choice. For most families, your data, your income and tax data moves directly from the IRS. It's called the direct data exchange into your part of the FAFSA. If your child files a return, same thing. You have no choice. You have to consent and approve of that. So if you're married filing jointly, only one person needs to consent because you're filing a joint return. The flip side, if you're married filing separately. So just keep that in mind. There are a few exceptions if your life has changed and you were married, happily married in 2024, but not so much now. You're going to fall into an exception. You're going to have to manually enter data. Best practice when you're doing the FAFSA is for the student. You sit with your child, start their portion. They're going to go through their FAFSA. They're going to invite you as a contributor with an email address that works for you. And then they're going to finish and you go do your part. If you already started, don't get stressed. It's okay. It's not like it's broken and it won't work. This is just best practice if you haven't started yet. Okay. So that's the FAFSA. I've hit on almost all of, well, Matt and I, between the two of us, don't include retirement. Matt said it. There's no primary home equity on the FAFSA. That's only the CSS. I've answered this question in the Q&A. 529 value just for the student. Your child that is going to be the student going to college next year, if you're filling it out right now, not the other accounts. If you have other kids and you are the owner of the 529, click that box for work study if it shows up. It just keeps you in the running. We already talked about SAI. That is not the maximum you're going to pay. And of course, don't overvalue your business or any other real estate besides your primary home, because that's fair game on the FAFSA. And of course, don't miss deadlines. Matt and I have seen over and over again where people can get tens of thousands of dollars less because they missed a deadline. So don't give the colleges that opportunity. So CSS profile, that's this other form, about 250, mostly private schools. You're submitting both forms. You're not off the hook for the FAFSA. You still have to submit the FAFSA. Key differences, Matt touched on this, the home you live in, we had a screenshot. They ask all that housing information. Don't overvalue your home. Otherwise, you're kicking yourself in the butt and that shoots up your SAI at colleges that look at that, which is most of these colleges will look at it. If you're divorced or separated, both biological parents are submitting a CSS profile. One is the CSS profile, the main one with your child. The other one is called the non-custodial profile. The custodial parent is going to be the same designation for the CSS as well as the FAFSA for that given school year. Two forms, they both go to College Board privately. College Board does AP, SAT, PSAT, so all your kids are going to have a login. And you don't need a special ID to get in there. You just use your child's login. If you're divorced, the non-custodial parent has to do some legwork to get in their piece. Non-custodial waiver. If you are in a situation where you're thinking, all right, I hear you, Peg, but my ex, like my child has not had any contact with him or her for 3 or 4 years. It's not a good scene, yada, yada. There is a non-custodial waiver for exactly those kind of situations. If it's not healthy, if it's not safe, if you don't know where your ex is or your ex is in jail and whatever it happens to be, that's when the non-custodial waiver comes into play. Not because your ex is like, I don't want to pay for college, I'm done. That's not going to work. So I'll save you some time. But if you fall into the category of having a legit appeal for a waiver, it's well worth your time. Business owners, Matt touched on that really well, and we showed you a screenshot. Basically, the CSS profile is a bit of a bear. Our colleague, Billy Rabbit, says, hey, if you like drinking beer, you have one beer with the FAFSA, and this is only for parents, not if we have any students on here. But if you're doing the CSS, you might be going to want a few beers, or for me, maybe I want an extra espresso martini. It's a lot. It's long, and there's strategies. And I'll just cover a few tips, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Matt. But
Break out the Jameson CSS
yeah.
profile. But yeah, Peggy, hit this one quick and then I'll get into the
Yeah,
profile.
yeah. So basically, there's required questions and not required questions. I'm not telling you to not answer any of the not required questions, but sometimes you maybe don't need to. Just depends on your family. Don't overvalue businesses and real estate. Include all the 529s on this form. They're going to ask you what you can contribute. You don't want to overestimate that either because you could just be raising your SAI literally. And then last but not least, there's a special circumstances section where you can share, don't share. Matt talked about appeals briefly. We are super good at appealing, and you want to keep those cards in your pocket. You want to be able to play those cards after your child gets in. So don't be don't get tempted and write a novel there. You're not going to be helping yourself.
And do me a favor, Peggy, just share this in the chat for anybody that hasn't created their account yet. Do it now, right? So the first thing we see is we have our SAI staring us in the face. We don't have to wonder what's the end result of my FAFSA going to be. And when we submit the FAFSA, we get to see our federal SAI. We never get to see that when we submit the CSS profile. So it's important that you know that here because you want to anchor to that. So I can look up any college that I want to see exactly what it costs is going to cost my family. Okay, so what's Peg Yell, your own neck of the woods? So Gonzaga University, right? Okay, $80,000 school. I'm going to pay $50,000 for it. Why? For any college, I can do a deep dive. So I got a lot of questions on how do I know who considers the FAFSA only, the CSS profile? Do they look at home equity, right? So we have some important admission stats for every school, but for every college, here's where we have kind of their secret sauce in terms of their business model. So their SAI basis, this is their business model. If they are a federal methodology school, that means they only require the FAFSA, which means they don't look at home equity, which means they only look at one household and split household families. Here's how generous or not they are with need-based financial aid. For every college in the country, we have every scholarship that they offer, the qualifications for reach. Our magic is we tell you what's your kid going to get, okay? If anything, right? So another thing that we like is add you as you add colleges to the list, we'll tell you where do they fit in your affordability profile. Your school counselors work with you to make sure that these kids have their safety target reach schools. We want to make sure you have your safety target reach financial fit here as well. So, again, we can just get a quick insight into how affordable or not is this, right? Like, why is Boston College a good outcome here? Well, let's go take a closer look. Again, their business model, institutional methodology school, so they're looking at our home equity, right? They happen to look at all of it. Now, not every institutional methodology school looks at all of it. Don't worry, we've done the homework. That's all baked into the algorithm. So they each have their own kind of idiosyncrasies in terms of assessing home equity, among other things. That's all baked into the platform. But why do we think this is a good outcome from an affordability standpoint? Here's the sticker price over the course of 4 years at Boston College. This is what we're going to pay. My family's going to pay. This is not the averages. This is what your family is going to pay after financial aid and scholarships. This is your budget. So here's the difference. Somebody's going to have to borrow $30,000. You might listen to that and say, I don't want my kid borrowing $30,000. Guess what? It's less than they're going to make on average based on the major, based on the school, which means it's a good outcome. This is all data driven. We've done the homework for you. So, as you guys are thinking about, especially things like, should we go early decision or not? You don't have any excuse to know what it's going to cost. You don't have any excuse to know, whether or not it's going to fit in your affordability profile. Put it in here, guys. Okay. Okay. So, I want to talk about how we help families. And again, if you are class 2026, tonight's the last opportunity to work with us for one of our Wake Me Up When It's Over financial aid packages. But here's what we're doing. We have a team of our experts that are available literally right now. Okay. All you if you and I'm going to talk to you about what our Wake Me Up When It's Over service is in just a second here. But if you want to talk to somebody before you buy tonight, just fill out this form, right? And it's gonna ask you for your phone number in addition to your email. One of our experts, it's either going to be Kevin Murphy or Dan Maga, or Jason Sloan or Joe Korfmarker. Joe Korfmarker. These guys have an unbelievable amount of experience, and they're going to talk to you tonight if you're interested in working with us one on one from now until your kid moves into the dorm. Again, I'm going to walk you through exactly what we do there in a second. But if you're a DIYer, some of you are just DIYers, right? You do your own backsplash, you change your oil, you paint the fence. I know who you are. We're not going to talk you into doing our comprehensive services. We're not going to try to. At least if you're a DIYer, be a premium member, right? Have all the full access to our software. Put unlimited schools on there. Search based on who's going to give you the most money. Have access to our office hours. Treat yourself $5. That's your risk there. $4.99. Do that today. When I talk about action absorbs anxiety, you need to do one of two things today. Sign up for the $5 a month, right? Cancel any time. So if you don't get $4.99 cents worth, you're out of there. Okay. But either sign up for that or talk to one of our guys about our full packages tonight. And I'll tell you, because again, this is our last day. We're taking class 2026 families if you're applying early action or early decision. Okay. Um, and we have a $500 off, right, if you enroll tonight. So you can do it right through here if you want to enroll now, if you know you want it, or talk to one of our guys. But here's what it is, right? And again, $500 off tonight. So this financial aid package will be $29.99. For admissions, this will not apply if you're applying early. The admissions and the combo would only apply if you are an underclassman or going regular decision. So the decision that needs to be made tonight is if you want to do the financial aid stuff. So here's what we do. Um, we do all your financial aid applications. So we do the FAFSA, we do the CSS profile. If you apply to Princeton, schools like Princeton or U Chicago that have their own institutional applications, we do them. We worry about who needs what, where, when, how. We can still provide value even if you've submitted either of those. We're very likely going to make corrections, but that's okay. Okay. But we will complete these forms for you. Again, we worry about who needs what, where, when, how. The how is the mission critical piece here. How you present your situation dictates the size of your discount. How do you value your business? How do you value your home? Which parent should complete it in split household situations? How do we present 529s? How do we present mutual funds? Right? Do we have to give them what our mutual fund or our equities are valued at today? Or what about the cost basis? What about the taxes we're going to pay if we were to liquidate there? Is there an opportunity to put something down lower than that kind of gross number we see on our statement? Oftentimes there is, right? Um, we're going to make sure that you're applying to competing schools, right? So it's so important to know who competes directly with one another. So the last thing your kids want to think about is putting in another application, but in some cases it just makes sense. And we know we're not going to apply there, but we're going to use that to get a better deal from our top choice. Okay.
Can I just interject, give you a chance to
Yep.
take a drink? Someone asked about twins. If you have twins, you'll buy the package and then we majorly discount your second child. It's $1,000 extra. And then you'll have the same expert working with both, your whole situation.
Right. So you'll be if you buy it tonight, it'll be $4,000 for the two kids, all in, right? And again, this is you're working with somebody one-on-one from now until the student moves into the dorm. There's unlimited hours. You have again your kind of direct point of contact, but you also have the wider team. So, so some of our experts are the director of financial aid at Harvard, the director of financial aid at MIT, the former director at USC, right? So we have this great network of folks that we all leverage, right, as individuals to make sure that our families are getting the best deal possible. And we're the ones leading the charge on appealing, right? So even if you're very, very savvy and sophisticated, the appeal part of the process is this is its own language, right? Like you don't know that, you know, uh, Boston College will sometimes use the federal methodology when it suits them better, even though they're an institutional methodology school, right? And how to call them on that the appropriate way. And again, I'm picking on BC. They're representative of dozens of colleges that have similar practices, right? And then skipping ahead to the finish line, once we know where we're going, how am I going to pay this bill? So we have some savings. Do I use my 529 all up front? Do I spread it out over 4 years? Should I have my kid borrow? How much is too much to borrow? If we need to borrow beyond the federal direct student loan, should I take out a federal plus loan? Should I borrow in the private sector? Grandparents are contributing. How does that work in here? Where should we focus in terms of private scholarships? So that is everything that is covered here. Okay. Our ROI is through the off the charts, as you can see. On average, we save families $123,000. Our lowest tangible savings last year for the class 2025 was $5,000. That was our kind of doomsday scenario, right? We save folks a lot of time on this. And matter of fact, we're thinking of using a different thing here because that number is just too high where it just looks silly, but that is what the data proofs. Okay. Um, and I think we had something like, I don't know, 98 point something or other. Kevin Murphy will know. Like families said that they got tangible ROI last year. And of that 1% that didn't, a couple of those are people that I fired. We always end up firing a couple families every year, but mostly we love them. Mostly we love you guys. So again, you can either pay right through this link, sign up tonight to make sure that you're kind of in there. If you want to chat with somebody first, I will again share this form. Be in over the next 2 hours, so 8 and 10, between now and 10 Eastern time, right? And obviously you know where you are. You will get a call from somebody on our team and or an email from somebody on our team where you can kind of ask your questions and get a good understanding. Is this a good fit for you? Um, right, or not. But I want to make sure that again, you guys are taking some action tonight. If you know you're a DIYer, treat yourself to the $4.99 and make sure you have all of the DIY resources you're going to need through this entire journey. Okay. A couple of you mentioned that it sounds like $4.99 would be a financial burden. Right into, so if that's you, right? If you would love all of our resources, but you can't afford the $4.99 a month, right into support at collegeaidpro.com. We'll get you on there for free. Right. We ask that you're honest there. Please don't take advantage of that. If you can't afford the $4.99, please please pay it. If you can't, write into support at collegeaidpro.com and our team will get you on there for free tomorrow. And again, if you're thinking like, look it, I want to make sure that I pay as little as possible for college and get the best professional help that I can get one-on-one for my kid, um, sign up tonight, right? For our Wake Me Up When It's Over package. Because again, if you're applying early, it's now or never. You're going to have another go at it if you're regular decision only, so you have a little bit more time. But again, take advantage of the $500 off. You might still want to do it, and you can sign up right through this link. At a minimum, talk to one of our guys, right? Talk to us, and they'll put us to the test. You'll find these guys are very, very they're professionals, right? They know exactly what they're doing. They're going to be able to answer your questions, and I think be a great representation of what we're all about. Um, Peggy, do you have anything to add here? What did I miss? What?
Yeah, just, I mean, it's just encouragement to, as I said earlier, don't, no matter where you are in this process in the age of your kids' high school years, um, don't drift, right? Do something like Matt said, anxiety, action absorbs anxiety. So do something. If it's, like he said, I can't afford that 4.99. Write us. I put it in the chat. If it's that's the way I want to start, even though I can afford more, great. There's other ways that we work with families besides the Wake Me. For some people, they hear the Wake Me and it's like, praise Jesus, that's what I need, right? Praise Allah, whoever you praise, or the tree outside. I'm not trying to be religious here. And just whatever's landing for you, just do yourself a favor and stay with us, because it's not like retirement where you can keep pushing it off. I'm a financial planner by background and I saw that many, many times in my old career. But college, your kid is just getting older and older, and eventually it's going to be where, like, oh, I have to deal with this now. And it's not the best way to do it. It creates a lot of stress and errors and expense and everything else. So that's why we're here. That's why we're here to guide you, support you, whatever way works for you. So just hear that way and make that next step.
Yeah, 100%. And fun coupon code tonight, right? The wicked 500. That's That's Jarrah and Eileen and put in their creative juices. So again, how you sign up here, guys? If you want to enroll in the financial aid package, you just hit enroll now. Add promotion code. I hit the Wicked 500. I say apply, and there you go. It'll take off $500, 29.99. You'll get a confirmation right away, and then you will hear from Jackie on our team tomorrow to get you guys on board, and we'll hit the ground running tomorrow. So believe me, it is obviously we're at D-Day here, so we will get going right away. And yeah, any questions, support at collegeaidpro.com. We will be keeping an eye on that for the next couple of hours tonight. And then we will have, as usual, punched in early in the morning, our support team tomorrow. But hopefully, yeah, obviously, kind of fast and furious tonight, but that's the nature of the beast this time of year. We're trying to provide as much information as we can with hopefully out being too overwhelming and just giving you tools wherever you are, right? If you're the give me the freebies, we got the freebies for you. If you're the all in, we got the all in. And if you're somewhere in the middle, I like to think that we have some solutions there. Yeah. So to speak with someone tonight, guys, right? To speak with someone tonight, all you have to do is have to fill out this form. Okay. And
Yeah, because
it's
a couple of you have questions. That's the perfect thing. Sign up and talk to them about it.
right.
Talk to them about how many hours, what if I want less? I mean, we'll figure out what's the best fit for you as far as us supporting you. That's why they're sitting there until, 10 o'clock Eastern. We're trying to, you're already doing this, you're already in front of the computer. Just take a few more minutes, it's on the phone, right, Matt? Just fill that out and then chat with them. And they're all the boys, as I like to call them. They're all wonderful people. So you
They
will
are.
have a lovely conversation.
Yeah, 100%. And again, support at College Aid Pro if you have any trouble there. Peggy, appreciate you as always. And yeah, thank everybody for the great questions tonight too. We had
Questions.
a lot of
Yeah, we
them.
didn't get to all of them, but I was going 88 we got done, but we can't we
That's not
we
bad.
we really can get to all of them. We do our best.
Not
So
bad.
hopefully that was super helpful and everybody have a great night and everybody have a happy Halloween too.
Yeah, happy Halloween, everybody. Yep, and have a great rest of the week. And we'll put the vibes out there for all the acceptances and all the generous financial aid and scholarship packages that we'll
And
muster up.
just remember, if your child doesn't get in somewhere, it's all good. That's not where they belong. They
If your
truly
child doesn't get in, you failed them as a parent, Peggy. That is the takeaway, right? You're a failure. So I kid, of course, people. I kid, of course. Obviously, you guys care. That's why you show up. So thanks, everybody.
All right, everybody, have a great one.